The essential skills of mastering the tempo at which we can practice in order to perfect material, or at least get a good grasp and solid skills of material, is massively, massively underrated. In fact, I would say that most of what I see about learning jazz piano tends to be stylistic. It tends to be about rootless chords and about whatever, modes and decorations and voicings and whatever, and cool solo phrases. Very little about the actual skills to get from want to play jazz to getting some fluency. And within that, over about 3 decades of teaching students, I've found that the number one thing that's the hardest to get people to do is to slow down the tempo at which they do anything. It's just so common to be rushing all the time and working at a performing speed rather than a learning speed, where we can actually get in there and really learn to get to know something, what it feels like, and get it right, iron out the mistakes, rather than just tripping up all the time and practicing being wrong. So this lesson is really aimed at what I would call level 1 and 2 students. Now for me, a level 1 student is somebody just learning the chords and how jazz works, the basic progressions. Level 2 would be, has a few tunes but no real freedom. It's pretty robotic, there's no improvisation going on or hardly any, and the tunes are played exactly the same way every time, in exactly the same key, and can often only remember the last 1 or 2 tunes that have been learned, right? So learning to free up so improvisation can exist. And then a level 3 is somebody that can play, for me, 10 or more standards quite fluently and is looking to improve their movements or voicings or improvisation in general. So this is really aimed at level 1 and 2, because yes, if you're a level 3 and you're learning bebop heads and they're 100 miles an hour and you're finding that ramping up the tempo more and more as you go is working for you, fine. However, for everyone else, these skills are essential. And to be honest, they're really important skills for level 3 students as well. Something I see all the time from students is when they play, they'll often speed up for the easy bits and slow down for the hard bits so that there's no tempo there. So they might play like this. I don't know, I'll take a tune like Moonlight in Vermont. So they might take just the chord in the left hand to start with. Now the tempo's already gone, right? There's no tempo. Right? We want to do a lot more than that anyway. But if we can get some pulse to the music and just slow down. Of course I'm playing freely, so I'm doing other things that just occur to me. This isn't a lesson about what to play. This is about how we're playing. But you can feel that there's time now, right? It could be here. 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 3, 4. Now that feels unnatural to most people. If you're enjoying this lesson, would you please give it a like and subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you know when there's a new video. A positive comment in the comments section really helps as well. And if it's time to level up your playing and get some freedom, then consider joining us on Jazz Skills. More about that at the end. For now, let's get back to the lesson. I believe that as a jazz musician, you should learn to feel what music feels like at even that speed. And I feel that the thing that's holding most people back is they can only feel music at a performing speed, the speed they want to hear it played. And if I say to them, now let's slow down to stop making the same mistakes in the same places and to have more thinking time, we'll come on to that in a minute, they can't feel the music there, so they find it harder and they're sure that this must be the wrong thing to do. One of my students the other day kept making the same mistakes in the same places. By the way, it was obvious to me from that he was going beginning to end, beginning to end, beginning to end of the lead sheet, making the same mistake at bar 6 or whatever it was, rather than taking 4-bar sections or even 2-bar sections and polishing them up before moving on and then turning them into maybe 8-bar sections and working like that. He'll end up playing the same amount of bars by doing that, but what will happen is he'll get to know where the mistakes are and he'll really polish them up and work on them and become free of them. So I said to him, what would happen if I phoned you every day, old-fashioned, and asked you to play just one chord? Let's say we agreed that every hour for the next day I'd ask you to play one chord. Would you get the chord right? with that amount of thinking time? You say, well, yes, of course. And I said, well, what would happen if I gave you 15 minutes for each chord? Yeah, I'd be right. What if I gave you 10 minutes? Yeah. What if I gave you 60 whole seconds, 1 whole minute to think about each chord? Then yes, I'd probably be correct. Therefore, isn't it just a matter of finding that speed? I'm not suggesting you play 1 chord per minute, but it's just a matter of time of finding that tempo, because people say, well, what is the right speed? Well, the right speed for me is that one where you can be correct at a consistent tempo and experience what music feels like. There are 3 main things in our music: melody, harmony, the chords, the progressions, and rhythm. And what a lot of people do is they either pay no attention to the rhythm part of it, the time, or they think it's something I'll add on later. I'm just playing the, people are saying, no, don't judge me on that. I'm just playing the notes at the moment. Yeah, but we learn the notes in time, because if you want to improvise ever, which is hopefully a big reason to learn jazz, then you have to experience scales and progressions in time. They fit together, not randomly. They fit together in 1, 2, 3, 4. 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. It's not let's learn a lick and then hope it all marries up, right? The time is all there, and that's essential. Another great thing about learning to slow down and feel music slowly is that you can address something else that often gets overlooked in this sea of what I call cool shit all over YouTube, is that trying to fix skills problems, basic skills problems of, do I even know the key of E flat if I want to play Moonlight in Vermont? Do I know the chords in E flat before I'm even trying to do that? Do I know that this is chord 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7? Could I actually recite those? E flat major 7, F minor 7, G minor 7, A flat major 7, B flat 7, C minor 7, D minor 7 flat 5, and E flat major 7? Or would I have to think about it too much? In which case, when I'm looking at a lead sheet, I'm not training myself that when I see that chord, it means something to me. So I'm not really training myself to know those things if time is never involved, because I can slow down as much as I want for the hard bits and speed up as much as I want for the easy bits. But what gets lost in this sea of cool stuff all over YouTube is attention to those sorts of skills, because we're not learning anything. First of all, if we're only focusing on tunes, and only on the tunes because we like the tunes rather than because they contain any information that's helpful in our journey at this stage in a key that makes sense and isn't full of key changes, so maybe that's not the best tune to choose, it just happened to me in my head, then we're not focusing on skills at all. So the other thing that does get lost in this sea of just grabbing at cool shit all the time is phrasing. People aren't even aware that this is going on. Somebody might play a line like this. Let's take Billy's Bells. Now, that was all staccato if we slowed down 1, 2, 3, 4 and heard. There's no breath to the line. That's not how you're going to play it on a saxophone. I'm going to go... No, you'll pass out, right? The best advice I ever got about phrasing from my first teacher, Leon, was phrase well, phrase badly, but for God's sake, phrase. So where I take a breath or accentuate a note or let there be a slight crescendo, a swelling of volume, or you do, doesn't have to be the same, but there should be some intention there that sounds like something is being said. It's going to swing more. And when you slow down enough, that's another thing that you can learn to feel that is just so difficult when the music's going past too quickly. I'm even using YouTube's new custom slowdown feature to listen to solos slower so I can really digest them. That's another tip that might help you actually. Recording yourself is a fantastic way to work on these things, but I would really recommend do not overreact when you hear your own playing, as I have done many times before as well. I often tell the story of when I was playing with a bass player and we recorded it. As I was playing it, I was in glee. I thought, this is great. I'm loving what we're doing here. And as I listened to the recording on the way home, I thought, this is terrible. This is the worst thing I've ever done. And I listened to it again the following day and thought, well, this is okay. So within that time, I'm pretty sure the recording hadn't changed, but my reaction to it had. But record yourself with a metronome or with a track or with other musicians and focus on your time. What does it sound like? Because you'll notice things you wouldn't notice otherwise. One of the things you might notice is this speeding up which is very, very common in newer players, so don't feel bad about it. But one way you could work on that is to get an app like any metronome app. Pro Metronome is really good for that. So I'm going to be working at 80 beats per minute. Could be slower as well. I have students working as slow as 60, even 50 in some cases, fine. Now, if you feel that in your recording, you're speeding up and you're ahead of the clicks, so people do this sort of stuff. Ahead of the clicks, I'm exaggerating on purpose. Then what you can do with Pro Metronome is you can silence your second and fourth click. 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So you can learn to not rush between the clicks, because now you've got to do something between those clicks rather than just be tapped on the shoulder by the time, okay? Don't just think about what you're playing and what you would like to sound like, but think about your core skills, and things you're already doing will improve so much. I wish you well with it. And if it's time to level up your skills, then come and see us on Jazz Skills, where we won't just flood you with information, but I'll guide you through it and show you exactly what needs to be in place, in which order, and how to practice it, with support from me and a vibrant community as well. So hope to see you there. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.